everyone. Welcome to another edition of Bunker Office Hours, a weekly live show brought to you by the team at Bunker Labs, a national network of veteran and military spouse entrepreneurs dedicated to helping the military connected community start and grow their own businesses. I'm your host for today, Iron Mike Stedman, joined by my co-host Amy Morton and our guest, Mr. James Sue. James, what's going on, man?
Hey, glad to be here. So excited to finally be on this show. I feel fortunate to kind of chat about my journey.
I hope we don't have any haters out there because you got two Marines on the platform today. You'll make a lot of people envious.
I could throw on my Navy gear too, since I got some time in the Navy before switching over.
Yeah. Hope you guys are doing great out there. We've got a lot of exciting updates for you about what's going on in the bunker. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and pass it to my co-host, Amy Morrison, to give some updates from around the horn.
Alrighty, thanks, Mike. Stuff going on in the bunker universe this week and upcoming. Big event, multiple events. I don't know. December 8th, 22 cities, 199 entrepreneurs, one night of networking all across the country. It's our big showcase, veterans and residents showcase. So outgoing, celebrate them, and incoming, introduce them. And see pitches and all kinds of stuff. Support the veterans in residence near you. So check that out at bunkerlabs.org/veteran-showcase. Link is in the chat and on the screen. Get your tickets at a city near you. And then other stuff we got going on, not necessarily events, but we got the holiday gift guide. That is at bunkerlabs.org/marketplace. So you can get your Christmas shopping now and support over 50 products from veteran and military spouse-owned companies in the Bunker Labs programming. So that's a thing you should do. And then finally, we've got our Breaking Barriers in Entrepreneurship workshop series. Applications are open now for the January 17th cohort. So that's what's up.
So the VR showcase is very near and dear to my heart because I'm a VR alumni, New York City. I was part of one of the first cohorts. Actually, Denver had the first cohort. I was like the second cohort. So
First
be sure
national.
to get out the first national. Yeah, get out there and show some love and support for that. And then Amy, I'm gonna put you on the spot,
Oh,
right?
God.
The Breaking Barriers workshop series. Let's talk a little bit more about that, right? Who is a good fit for the workshop series as opposed to, because I know we have the Veterans in Residence program, we have our CEO circles taking place. Where does Breaking Barriers fit?
Breaking Barriers is before veterans in residence. So if you're at like very, very early stages, you don't feel quite ready for that veterans in residence. Maybe you don't need space. Maybe you just don't need that. Like you're not quite there yet. Maybe you don't have like all the customers in the world yet. Maybe you got like one. Maybe you don't have any. That's definitely the stage that we're looking for. And also the Breaking Barriers is also focused on underrepresented entrepreneurs. So Black, Latinx, female, and Asian entrepreneurs are our focus for that one.
Renee Bob leads that program. I had an opportunity to teach the branding workshops for probably the first 3 or 4 of them. It's an excellent program. A lot more hands-on. You know, they're meeting every week, so it really is a big time commitment. But I really encourage you all out there that feel like you're going at it alone. Really check out that program, see if it's a good fit for you, and get plugged into some of these cohort programs. You know, that's the benefit of the models that we're offering here at Bunker Labs, is that feeling that you're not going at it alone. So be sure to check that out. Amy, is there anything else we forgot to cover regarding updates?
Oh, I don't know, probably, but that's all I got on my list. So if I think of anything, I'll let you know.
And for those of you who are tuning in, if we missed something, please put it in the chat. We'll be sure to give a shout out on it while we're live today. But without further ado, you know, one of the reasons we're on today is we got a very special guest, Mr. James Sue, on Office Hours. James, man, so glad to have you on here with us today. I've been talking to Carrie about getting you on for a minute.
Yeah, I know Carrie's always excited, and she's been trying to get me to chat about the transition experience. And I think I'm a little bit more reserved and private in my life. So it's been great to listen to your show and listen to Carrie and appreciate that maybe some other veterans may see some value in the transition, some of the decisions I've made with my career and how it's influenced what we've chosen to do today.
So let's just jump right into it. Why don't you give our listeners a quick background about yourself, and then talk to us about you've got an interesting career coming out of the military, working in corporate America, then you transition to entrepreneurship, and now you're even doing a taco diplomacy, which is a great name, by the way.
Yeah, thanks, man. Yeah, no, career's been interesting. I think as with a lot of veterans, maybe a little bit more so on the enlisted side, military just offered a way to reset in life. So I graduated high school. It wasn't a great situation. I just needed to get away. The Navy, I was still academically focused and interested. So the Navy offered me actually a really fantastic opportunity in the new power program. So I joined right out of high school, went to boot camp in Orlando, Florida, which was, not a tough gig down there. And spent 3 years going through the training pipeline. I did a little bit of instructor duty in the new qualifications. Navy decided to send me to college, and sometime during my sophomore and junior year, I realized that the Marine Corps was as much more suited to my interests, personality, and style. Navy was fantastic, but you got to find your fit and be willing to sort of take some risks. So the Navy acquiesced after a year of relentless requests to allow me to join the Marine Corps, and spent 4 or 5 years in the Marine Corps as a logistics officer. I got out and spent a bit of time on the corporate side. And I think as with many other veterans, I never appreciated what the military provided to me skill set wise and comfort level wise to be able to pursue my own business. It just didn't seem like a realistic path. So I took several corporate jobs, some in the defense consulting, manufacturing, and startup space, and was pulled to Nashville, Tennessee by a rapidly growing startup organization, and then spent a few years there. And then went to seek my MBA. I think, as with a lot of entrepreneurs, we're always seeking knowledge. Sometimes education is the right path. Sometimes it's real world experience. At that time in my life, I thought MBA was the thing to do, and earned a degree there, and immediately started having interest in applying that skill set to various other things. Had an interesting career transition. In 2017, I was, and I'll talk about this a little bit more later, but I pursued a interest of mine within an organization fervently, and that actually led to me being fired after 5 years with the company. And that put me in a position to rethink what I wanted to do in my life. And shortly after that transition, I was introduced to Bunker Labs. It's Nate Carden and Blake Hogan back in 2017, really trying to build up the chapter out here in Nashville. And it had a really remarkable impact in the decisions that I would make, I think, from that day forward. Instead of pursuing another corporate job in executive leadership position, I'm like, hey, let me try something else to kind of allow me to work with individuals, organizations, and people that were much more aligned with my values and my interests, and just kind of giving my time to the people that I felt deserved my time. So it was a fantastic moment in my life. The other part, there's a quote, if you can find your footing between two cultures, sometimes you can have the best of both worlds. And it's sort of influenced a lot of my decisions. When I've had a chance to make career transitions, I've tended to bias my decisions towards the path that I was least familiar with, because I was genuinely interested in what that world could provide. Fortunately, what I found, and I think some people are afraid to make transitions because they feel like they're going to lose so much of what they've worked for in the past, you realize that you don't lose any of that. You just take that along with you. And by stepping, for me, most recently, stepping from the data world into the food service industry and trying to start a restaurant, they are almost from the outside very diametrically opposed, right? There's very different types of individuals and cultures and skill sets that you need to bring, but I'm realizing very quickly that despite appearing very different, so many of the skill sets that I picked up, whether it's in entrepreneurship or in business or in data analytics, are being very directly applicable to my pursuit of business. So yeah, you mentioned taco diplomacy. It's I had a conversation with my best friend a number of months ago, and we were just sort of sitting around a table, and said, man, I love tacos. Everybody loves tacos. And we started thinking, why in the world are there only Mexican and Tex-Mex and sometimes Korean tacos? Like, it's ridiculous. And So he's like, what about a German taco? And he's actually from East Germany. So we started in our heads putting together, okay, we could use sauerkraut and a potato tortilla and bratwurst and I don't know, maybe a mustard sauce. And we're like, holy cow, that sounds freaking delicious. So we just started to build the concept out a little bit more organically. And I realized, um, not at that moment, but gradually over time, that hey, people are genuinely happy when I do this. I talked to somebody else recently, and I told them I've never ever made anybody happy with data. They're excited about it. They like looking at it, like, oh, this is really cool. I can make decisions, but no one's like, oh my God, I'm so happy. Thanks for the data. But with foods, you make a lot of people happy if you do it right because they can see and feel the passion that you're putting into that stuff. And sometimes that energy and passion just gets lost when you're doing operations or data type work. So it got me excited about trying something different and seeing if I could also be successful in sort of the restaurant industry as well, but not necessarily giving up everything I've done in the past.
So you've done a lot of transitions. It's like a
Oh,
recurring theme in your life, it kind of sounds like. And so of all of that, like, what do you think is the biggest thing you've learned about it? And how do you think a lot more veterans can benefit from making those transitions or taking the steps to do it? Because a lot of times I think for us, we think about like the end goal, of like, oh, I want to be here. We don't we've skipped the process, and like the journey and the growth that you're going to go through, even just freaking leaving corporate to launch something.
yeah. So I think one of the most, and this is where veterans have this, military service members have this. We are put into situations that are so chaotic, so unknown. So that fear of the unknown when we're in service is really driven out of us. We get comfortable. Marine Corps, particularly, we have the fewest people, we have the fewest resources, generally the oldest equipment, and we're told to execute some really complex tasks. And regardless of how difficult it is, we figure it out. But when we leave service, somehow I think a lot of veterans forget our resilience and our ability to sort of execute to that. And one of the things that I tried to take away, and it took me a while when I first left service, is how capable we as a group are with transitions, right? Stepping into something new, having the confidence that, yeah, I may know nothing about food service industry or data or operations, but you know what? I'm going to figure it out. And I'm more capable of figuring it out than the guy next to me who doesn't have this type of experience. So, yeah, there's been a lot of transitions. Everyone is difficult, but everyone is less difficult than the previous one. And now I go into it knowing this is going to be hard. It's going to take a lot of time. There's a potential for failure, but if anyone is capable of doing it, I am because I've done it so many times before. And I genuinely do not think I am unique in this area. I'm just unique or a little bit more unique in that I've been willing to make so many transitions. And I hope, at the end of this, maybe some other veterans like take that leap and say, hey, man, let me try this. Let me try something I'm really excited about. Because you'll see one thing that kind of breaks my heart a little bit is as some Marines, they get out and yeah, they should be in defense consulting. They should get into law enforcement. But we feel in many ways trapped by a path. Hey, because I have this experience, I'm an infantry guy or I was an MP. I need to get into law enforcement because that's the only value I can provide to society versus saying, hey, got leadership experience and project management. I can like work under stress. I can do really well in the startup space, right? And it's sort of like pivoting and thinking and understanding that you actually provide so much more value to corporate America than just kind of the sum of your experiences in the military.
Now, I know me and you are both passionate about entrepreneurship, right? Especially as a pathway for veterans. But we were just talking about before we went live how hard it is, when you're running a pop-up or, running a brick and mortar location, right? It's all not sunshines and rainbows. But why do you think that's a good pathway for a lot of veterans and military spouses?
On the startup side,
Yeah.
uh, yeah. So if you look at, again, the amount of time and effort and money the military has put into every single military service member, this is an investment that few other organizations are willing to provide. And we leave the military with our, kind of our language and our acronyms and stuff. And so few of those actually are directly translated into kind of the civilian side. But look at what you get out with. I don't know a single veteran, very few veterans that have left the military without the, I've said this before, right? The project management skill set, the ability to deal with pressure, the ability to train and lead. Uh, we're highly differentiated. The disconnect, I think, a lot of corporate America, they claim in many ways to sort of appreciate and value veterans, but they still see us in many ways as the kind of the law enforcement component, right? The much more aggressive, kind of knock anything down to execute the mission. They don't appreciate some of the finesse that you need, but we have to have all of that. And I think lacking an appreciation in the corporate side that we bring all these skill sets, we do it ourselves because all those things that I said are valued in corporate America are exactly the ingredients you need in order to execute and be successful as an entrepreneur. I don't know many veterans that if they put their head down to it, they have an organization like Bunker Labs that's providing the framework and the connections to do this that cannot be successful. And sometimes you need to fail a little bit and have a stupid idea. I can't tell you how many stupid ideas I've had out there. And I tried, I'm like, you know what, that's not going to work. But just keep trying. You have the skill sets. You just need to sort of dial in on that idea and lean into the support that's available to you.
Yeah, there definitely is something about like, and you talked on it earlier of, we come from this skill set. Like, let's say you're like, I don't know, a lieutenant colonel transitioning out, right? The idea of setting up a ice cream stand or something, it's not the glamorous thing in the world, external world. But again, to you, right, you're passionate about it. It's something that you want to bring to the world. And also being able to step away and say, like, look at yourself in a new light, essentially. I think we hold on to so much of that identity from what we're coming out of the military that we have to be like in this similar position of authority.
Yeah, well, it's not even the authority. I think we as a society have put a hierarchy in the type of job that we're doing, right? If you're doing, I don't know, some research analytics or you're running or starting a high-tech company, we're like, oh, that's really incredible. And this person that is, trying to start a cheese dip company in Memphis, Tennessee, my buddy Andrew, like that's seen as, oh, it's just food service. It's really not that important. And when you peel away all the layers and all of these assumptions about what we're doing, you realize there's a phenomenal amount of complexity in the thing that Andrew's doing relative to somebody who's starting a tech deal. Because you start a tech company, you're like, oh yeah, let me go find a funder to give me $20 million and let me hire a bunch of smart people to do all the work, and I look like a genius. And I'm not downplaying the complexity of that side, but you get into some of these other areas and you have to roll up your sleeve. You have to learn how to do the manufacturing process, develop relationships, understand finance and marketing, and do the engagement. And because our society has largely devalued that relative to other things, you have to do this by yourself. It's harder to find funding and resources and things. And again, I'll go back to this is the value of an organization like Bunker Labs and other veteran support, entrepreneurial support organizations, because we understand that it's about the passion. It's not about specifically or technically what you're doing. And if you put enough into it, you could build something great and something that you're proud of. There's so many big businesses that are built just based on finances and money. I can't imagine people actually being proud of it except for the fact that it makes a lot of money.
Yeah, I was listening to a podcast this morning that was talking about it. Like in the tech startup ecosystem, the investors, they really care about the unicorns, but there's a lot of successful, they're technically small businesses that are bringing in, $5 million in revenue that nobody talks about. So, for us here at Bunker, we focus on small business, we focus on startups, but there's a lot of opportunity in this space. And you're a testament to that. And I'll tell you, when I first got pulled into the Bunker ecosystem, you were one of the people I was watching because I'm like, you're a Marine, you got this Nashville analytics company. I was working at a private school in downtown Newark. I was like, man, I gotta go for it. And fast forward to today, I got my own little podcast agency. You've leveled up. You got Taco Diplomacy. But again, we all have this connection with our military background coming out through the Bunker. And so in the time we have left, I'd love for you to tell us about your BHAG, the big, hairy, audacious goal for Taco Diplomacy, and how our viewers can help you accomplish it.
Yeah. So for me, we've been doing a lot of pop-up events, and my wife, Carrie, she's like, it's going to be hard. I don't even know if it's going to be worth it. And not in the like you need to give up, but like it's going to be so time consuming. And, being the optimistic Marine, I'm like, no, it's not a big deal. I can figure this stuff out. It is absolutely exhausting the amount of time it takes to prepare for a 2 to 3 hour event, the number of days we have to go out into that. But we're doing proof of concept, and I didn't want to try to do something bigger without validating the concept because I love my tacos and my friends say they love my tacos, but do they really? Or do they just don't not want to hurt my feelings, right? And I don't have that kind of friends. They like hurting my feelings, but I still needed some public validation. So at this point, we've done several events and we've been invited to a to cater an event here for a local music company. I think we've got the proof of concept. So for us, I want to build an actual brick and mortar. I know it's difficult. I've got a lot of connections, but I'd love to sort of have a place people can go to and enjoy food. And the concept for taco diplomacy, I hadn't mentioned this before. It's really bringing international flavors to people in accessible forms. And for me, there's no better way to introduce complex topics than through food, right? Like I may not understand certain cultures around there, but if I'm eating your food, I have a framework for conversation just to start something and to learn something more. So my hope is that the concept, while it's based around food and cuisine, helps people explore and expose themselves to things that they may not otherwise have exposed themselves. So excited about that. I hope to have one store this year and 3 or 4 stores in the next couple of years and make an actual full transition to this. Because right now I'm doing both. I'm doing data consulting and food.
We call that hustling. You're hustling right now, but it's all right, man. That's what we do when we bootstrap. So if you're tuning in and you're down in the Nashville area, make sure you get out to one of these taco diplomacy pop-ups, show James and Carrie some love. Again, we got to start supporting each other in the community. Now what we're going to do is we're going to transition to our book recommendations, right? So James, you have a book recommendation for our viewers. What is it?
Yeah, I think this one's appropriate. I was kind of flipping through it last week, and it's called The Last Lecture by Randy Posh. Many of you guys may have read it or heard of it. If you haven't read in a while, I highly, highly recommend doing it again. It is so relevant to the entrepreneurial space. This is a professor who was diagnosed with terminal cancer, and he, in the interim between the diagnosis and passing away, he actually wrote a lecture and just has some phenomenal insights for us to live by. Things like don't obsess over what people think. No job is beneath you, and he really just kind of talks about his experiences. Never give up, and all you have to do is ask. This is tough for me because throughout my life I've had to do so many things on my own without a lot of support. And to be able to get to a point in life where I'm willing to say, you know what, this is outside my world. I can advance quicker if I call the community and ask for help because everyone is out there willing to help and provide the time. So it's right here. Recommend it. Check it out. It's literally about a 2-hour read, but it can be for many of you guys, if you're in the right place, life-changing for you.
Love it. And if you're tuning in, please go ahead and drop a book recommendation yourself. This week, I'm actually going to plug a podcast, and I want to plug Rob Walling's Startups for the Rest of Us. It's a podcast for non-venture backed tech startups that are building, lifestyle. I don't even call them lifestyle companies, but they're building businesses that provide them the freedom that a lot of us chase. And again, if you've been following this show for the last few weeks, I've been knee deep in this indie hacker, indie entrepreneur movement of these non-venture backed startups. And there's a lot of lessons to be learned by them. I actually had Rob on the transition, and I released his episode last week where he talks about some lessons learned from, launching, 50 bootstrap startups, working with startup founders. Really, really great resource. So check that out. Startups for the Rest of Us. And they also have a podcast called Micro Conf on Air. And Rob and his team, they do these conferences for indie entrepreneurs, and they put some of their great lectures online as well. You can check that one out. So tons of great resources out there. For those of you all that feel like you don't have, connections to VCs yet, or you just kind of want to get started in the space, check out Startups for the Rest of Us. Be sure to leave a comment for that. And also listen to our interview. It's a great interview, a lot of value out of that. So James, appreciate having you on the platform today. We'll be looking forward to following your growth at Taco Diplomacy. For everyone that's tuning in, again, show James some love, show the bunker some love. head over to bunkerlabs.org. Make sure you're plugged in to all the exciting stuff we got going on. Like we mentioned before, we've got the holiday gift guide out there. 50 veteran-owned, military spouse-owned businesses from the Bunker Lab ecosystem that have great products that are up. Go visit it, show them some love, and let's keep building a great entrepreneurial community. So until next week, everyone, peace, love, and have a great rest of your week.
Awesome. See you guys.